All right, I think I'm going to ask you to stay standing or get right back up again because we're going to be joined by students from Maplewood to lead us in the pledge and the national anthem. Please give a warm welcome to incredible homegrown local talent and our future leaders.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Another huge shout out to our local talent. One more time for our high school teachers. All right. It is now my pleasure to turn the show over to a mayor with whom this would not be possible. Thank you so much for having us this evening. Mayor McGehee, take it away.
Before I get started, a couple of housekeeping rules. I'm in charge of letting you know that the exits are here on both sides, and there are two exits in the back, and the exit which you came through. So in the event, those are the exits that you need to be cognizant of. So thank you about that. Governor, First Lady Tammy Murphy, Essex County Democratic Chairman Jones, Assemblywoman Jacey, Mayor Conley, Mayor Serrano, and to all the freeholders, trustees, council people that are here, just take a second to stand and be recognized, please. Good evening and welcome all to Maplewood, or MAPSO as I like to say and some of our youth like to say. My name is Frank McGehee, and I'm honored to be the 16th mayor of our vibrant and historic town. Thank you all for attending Governor Murphy's Town Hall this evening. I want to acknowledge my colleagues, Deputy Mayor Dean Daffis, former Mayor and Committeeman Vic DeLuca, Committeewoman Nancy Adams, Committeeman Greg Limbrick. I also want to recognize all of our township department heads who are here tonight for the town hall. Maplewood is committed to being a forward-thinking and progressive township. Equal rights. Thank you, Governor, for granting residents the opportunity to obtain driver's license regardless of their immigration status. Equal wages. Thank you, Governor, for raising the minimum rate. Sustainability, criminal justice reform, common sense gun laws, moms and man action, let's make some noise. Investing in our school district. And shared service opportunities with other municipalities. And last but not least, building a 21st century library. Thank you again for your administration, for supporting our state libraries, Governor. Thank you. We're shovel ready. We're ready to go. And we also believe in the power of our youth. We heard from them tonight in voice and in leadership. And let's just take a second to recognize the Youth Advisory Committee that's here tonight. Please stand to be recognized. These are our future leaders. Take a good look. You'll be voting for them soon. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that Maplewood is bullish on reliable commuter transportation, which is the lifeblood of our community. But thank you, Governor, for your continuing efforts to address New Jersey Transit, for hiring more engineers, and believing in the Gateway project. Thank you so much. You know, since the election of our current president in 2016, we, the residents of Maplewood Township, have spoken out, marched, protested, and stood front and center against the administration's attempts to diminish protections for women, immigrants, our LGBTQ family, and Black people. We are a township that's unapologetic and proud of what we stand for. We are a community where hate has no home. We are a township that is strong and poised to move forward for years to come. I'd now like to introduce Assemblywoman Mila Jacey of the 27th District. Ms. Jacey was first elected in 2007 and currently serves as a deputy speaker. She is the chair of the Higher Education Committee, vice chair of the Education Committee, co-chair of the Joint Committee on Public Schools, and a member of the Housing Committee. Ms. Jacey has sponsored several measures, including the state's anti-bullying law, gun safety, homeless prevention, and the elimination of human trafficking. She has sponsored higher education accessibility and affordability laws, enhanced protections for LGBTQ students, open space and sustainable energy measures, women's health, workers' protection, and affordable housing. I now want to tell a brief personal story, if I may. 5 years ago, when I was waiting to present my candidacy to the Maplewood Democratic Committee at the Heart, I was nervous and excited. Mila and Assemblyman John McKeon came out of the room, and they both took time out of their schedule to just have a nice, candid conversation with me. That night, Mila provided some advice, which I parked in the back of my mind into my inauguration on January 1st. To paraphrase, she said, "Do not get discouraged. Instead, be patient and continue to do the work, and everything will work itself out." Mila, you were right. And that's because that's exactly what you do, the work. the work of the people. And this year, 2020, which marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, guaranteeing and protecting women's constitutional right to vote, I can't think of a better role model to represent our state. It's my honor to introduce my Assemblywoman, your Assemblywoman, our Assemblywoman, Ms. Myla Jacey.
Thank you and good evening. And I have to say, Frank, one of the best things about being in politics, believe it or not, is the wonderful people that you meet. And you never know when your paths will cross. And I remember that evening, and I'm glad you persevered, you did the work, and now you're the mayor. Congratulations. I want to thank you for being here this evening, and my remarks will be very short. I'm introducing the governor, and it is really a pleasure and a privilege to do so, Governor. Since joining the Assembly in 2007, it's been my honor and privilege to work with 4 governors. Well, an honor to work with 3. And to call 2 of them my very good friends, Governor Cody and Governor Murphy. Bill Murphy gets it. He works every day to make New Jersey a state that welcomes and embraces all who call it home. He promised that a Murphy administration would create a stronger and fairer New Jersey, and it is a promise that he is keeping. Now, Frank has already mentioned a number of his accomplishments already, but I'm going to run through them very quickly. Full funding for women's health care, driver's licenses for all, restoration of voting rights to formerly incarcerated people, an end to gerrymandered districts, debt-free community college, raising the minimum wage, ACA protections, the State Energy Master Plan, environmental protections, advocacy for a true millionaire's tax, legislation that my partner John McKeon, who's traveling tonight, and I sponsored, and we will stand with you again on that one. Equitable school funding, and wait for it, fixing New Jersey transit. If it kills them, and it might. But like Frank, I'd like to tell you a quick personal story about how we met. Governor Cody asked me to meet with his friend, Phil. I said, okay. He came to my Maplewood district office, and from there we went to lunch here in Maplewood, and I won't say where because I don't want anybody to get mad. We found that we had much in common, especially our belief in the power of public education. We shared stories about our families and the challenge of parenting children who enjoyed having more than we had grown up with. I shared my husband's favorite expression: you can't manufacture hardship. And this refers to raising children who have so much more than we had, but also working hard to instill in them the values that we hold dear. The importance of teaching our children to be kind, empathetic, and involved citizens. He seemed interested in what I had to say. Months later, when I met his wife, Tammy, she said, to my amazement, I know who you are. You're the one who said to Phil, you can't manufacture hardship. That knocked me over. He had been listening, and he shared with Tammy, who is just the most incredible partner, and I'm very, very glad that you have her. That was the summer of 2016, before he had announced, before I knew he was going to be running. And I'm proud to say that I was one of the first elected officials to endorse him and to headline an event for him in South Orange. So SOMA, MAPSO, we're all one community. We are very fortunate tonight to have Governor Phil Murphy with us, talking to us, answering questions, and I hope you will give him a very warm, warm welcome tonight.
Wow. There's not a whole lot more I can say after that. I'm thinking to myself, what can I possibly say that will live up to these introductions? But Mila, bless you and thank you. Frank, where'd you go? Frank, right. Excuse me, Frank, I have my glasses on. You're right beside Mila. Thank you so much to you and Council for hosting us so graciously tonight. To all the elected officials, it means a lot that you would come out, not just from Maplewood, but from surrounding communities. Chairman Leroy Jones, it's a real treat to be with you. Can't thank you enough for being here tonight. I feel like asking him, what are we doing tomorrow night? Because we've been together a lot of nights. You brought your First Lady, Jackie Jones, is in the house. Jackie, great to have you with us. I not only have the aforementioned First Lady of the great state of New Jersey, Tammy Murphy, is with us. But if that weren't enough, my nephew, the best man at our wedding, Sean Francis Egan from South Orange. I believe he had to get his papers stamped on the way over from South Orange into Maplewood. I want to also give Deb Kornavaca a huge shout out. I can take my time on introductions because Mila and Frank have said everything I was going to say. So, no, all kidding aside, Deb, to you, to the students who sang and who spoke, let's hear it for them one more time. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So impressive. Do we have any veterans with us tonight? Yeah. Let's hear it for our veterans. Stand up, guys, stand up. God bless you and thank you for your service to our country. Any first responders, police, fire, other first responders with us tonight? Bless you all. And thank you all. Do we have any educators in the house tonight? Oh, come on. Holy cow. Holy cow. I got that flyer. It's in my pocket. We're having a meeting on it tomorrow. Do we have any brothers and sisters from organized labor with us tonight? Just checking, Mike. You don't get that in Parsippany Troy Hills every night, do you? Just checking. I'm just checking. Jonah and Ellen Zamilis are here. They were here with their son, Dan. How about let's stand up, guys? And all the team from Words Bookstore. Please, everybody. The ethics lawyers will probably kill me because I can't necessarily support one brand over another. But these folks, you probably know this, are in the final 5 competition from Publishers Weekly for the best bookstore in the United States of America. And if that weren't enough, what they do with folks who work with them with emotional, developmental disabilities and putting them to work and training them is a role model for the entire state, if not the entire country. So thank you, guys. Thank you, man. Thank you. Say hi to Dan later on, all right? Tell him I hope you win. It won't get any better than that, I can tell you that. So I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. What a week. What a week to have this. By the way, if I didn't say pay an homage to our extraordinary cabinet, many members are here today, so hats off to this extraordinary, by the way, the most diverse cabinet in the history of the state, and the first majority women cabinet in the history of the state of New Jersey. And Liz Moyle, our treasurer, if you didn't see it, wrote an extraordinary piece today about women in government, women in society in the Star Ledger. And I encourage each and every one of you to read that. So now, all kidding aside, what a week. We had, on Monday, the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Tammy and I have lived in Germany twice. I served in the second stint as the United States ambassador to Germany. This is something that we have lived deeply with. That is the Holocaust. Never forget the lessons that we must pass to the next generations. Not just a sobering day. By the way, the 60th anniversary had 1,500 survivors attend the services at Auschwitz. On Monday, 200 attended. We heard from the Israeli Consul General last night, a dear friend, Ambassador Danny Dayan, that a full 1/3 of the survivors of the Holocaust today live under the poverty line in the country, in our country. So the notion of never forget has never been more needed and never been more powerful, and yet look at the rise of anti-Semitism in our state, in our country, frankly in Germany, and in Auschwitz's case in Poland, and elsewhere around the world. It is something that we cannot ignore. So please, God, never again, and let's never lose sight of that. For sports fans, for dads and daughters, the loss of Kobe Bryant and his daughter on Sunday, and not to mention that, but 4 other families that were ripped apart by a sad and tragic death. Viruses coming out of China, coronavirus. We just had a press conference on that this afternoon. I think we're in the better to be safe than sorry circumstance in New Jersey, so we're trying to stay out ahead of that. If you've got any questions on that, the number to call is 1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. But again, we are doing everything we can, screening at the airport, making sure our health care providers are on the edge of their seat and are prepared. God forbid if anything comes our way. We only had one case so far, knock on wood, that was tested, and it turned out to be negative, so that's a good thing. Tammy and I actually have lived in the People's Republic of China over 20 years ago at this point in this special administrative region called Hong Kong. And I would just say I'm going to say something kind of harsh about the Chinese government, which is why it's even worth raising the virus here. They may look really strong, powerful, all capable, never make any mistakes, but when something like this happens, they have a glass jaw. And you're seeing an enormous unevenness with how they're handling this. The government, by the way. And so that's part of the reason why we're trying to stay out ahead of this. If that weren't enough, we've got the 3rd president in the history of our country being impeached. I wasn't looking for an applause line there. I'm just saying it's a tough week. And if that weren't enough, the President of the United States actually was in New Jersey last night in Cape May County. So that is a week. As they say, that's the week that was, and it's only Wednesday night. So through all of that, we have said from day one, and I don't spike any footballs. I am constantly of the opinion that we inherited a big mess that we're digging out of that mess, that in many respects it's 3 yards off tackle. You know, when you're turning something around, there's not a lot of glamour. You don't throw a lot of 40-yard passes. You wake up every day and you grind forward. We said we would stand for a stronger and fairer New Jersey that worked not just for some, but for every New Jerseyans, and I'm proud to say that's who we are. We are who we said we would be. We said that we don't believe you make economic progress without social progress, and likewise, we don't make social progress without economic progress. Those aren't just words. We mean it. We've been tagged as pro-growth progressives. We'll take that. That's who we are. We believe we have to grow the economy, and we are proudly, unabashedly progressive. Now, there are some, if not many, out there who would say the words I just uttered, stronger and fairer, economic progress and social progress, growth and progressive, are at odds with each other. We reject that notion completely, 100%. Not only do we not believe that they're at odds with each other, we believe they feed on each other. And some of the things that we've done that we're incredibly proud of, Frank and Mila have mentioned, and some of these are in a little bit of 2 years into our term here. Some of these, hey John, some of these are our greatest hits, if you will, because we've done these now many months ago. We are on a path, and I'm proud to say it, to $15 an hour minimum wage in the great state of New Jersey. We have the strongest equal pay for equal work law in the United States of America. We have the strongest earned sick leave law in the United States of America, and ditto for earned family leave law. We said we would fund Planned Parenthood, and virtually on day one, we funded Planned Parenthood. I'll come back to the guns with the moms who I was with already once today, and I love you. We said we would have the strongest gun safety laws in America, and we do. We said, by the way, with an education system that had been underfunded by over $9 billion with a B dollars in the previous administration, that we would make historic investments into public education, and we've now put 2 budgets back to back in a row of all-time historic investments in K through 12 education. We're expanding pre-K, including right here in Maplewood, in a big way. We're making college more affordable. We said we'd make the pension payments, and we made the 2 biggest record payments in the history of the state back to back. So those are things that are not necessarily new. You've heard them before, but they have led to some results that are significant. And again, we spike no footballs. We're on a journey. We are a long way. I'll stay with football for a minute. We're a long way from the end zone. Okay, so let's not, don't assume that we're going home after this and putting our feet up. We're not, we never do. But you do want to look for signs along the road and ask yourself, do those signs point that you're going in the right direction? So we set and reset. And we're now plus or minus at the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the state of New Jersey since they started keeping track in 1976. We'll take that. No district knows this better than South Orange and Maplewood, but we were ranked in September at long last. We finally beat Massachusetts, the #1 public education system in the United States of America. I think this is even cooler, or as cool. We became, last fall, the first state, not just today in America, the first state in the history of the United States of America to offer arts education universally to every kid in every public school in the state of New Jersey. I mentioned unemployment rates. We've added 72,000 private sector jobs since we've been in office in only 2 years. Again, we're digging, we're moving forward, typically running 3 yards off tackle, but we know where we want to get to, that stronger and fairer state that works for everybody, and 1 foot in front of the other. We are getting there. Now, I'd love to add a couple of items. I need my spectacles, as they say, for this. A couple of items that I want to make sure you hear that are sort of new, because I also don't want you to think that we're standing still, that we're one foot in front of the other day in and day out. We're not taking any breaks. Couple of updates. Number one, we announced we've got something now called Jobs NJ. We've found that there are employers who need skilled employees, but we have a mismatch between what the employers want and what the employees have as their skills, whether it's inside of organized labor, whether it's coming out of secondary schools, county colleges, four-year institutions, whatever it might be, or adult life learners. So we're obsessed with closing that gap and making it seamless. The wealth disparities in this state are staggering. We have now announced we are establishing a commission focused explicitly on wealth disparities. No state in America has ever done that. The numbers, and these numbers, we all know this. This is the 401st year since African slaves first came to our shore. This has been building a long, long time, but the numbers are literally staggering in our state between white households on the one hand and both black and Latino households on the other. We have got to figure this out. We cannot let this go on. We're focused as best we can. I think we've done a lot to attack health care, particularly given what's coming at us out of Washington, but it hasn't been enough. So we've announced that we're establishing in the governor's office an Office of Health Care Affordability and Transparency. We owe everybody in this state, right? We owe everybody in this state a specific sense of what they're paying for what they're getting and how we can get those numbers down as fast as we can. We not only have made up for the federal land grab on the Title X money in terms of women's health, in terms of getting the advice that they need, but we have asked explicitly that we codify in state law a women's reproductive rights. Given what's coming at us out of Washington, we can't take any chances. We have to put that into law in the great state of New Jersey. We unveiled an energy master plan on Monday, which is the talk of the town. No other state in America has done this. This is the roadmap for us to get from today, 30 years from now, a 100% clean energy New Jersey economy, and we will get there. I signed a law. The gay panic defense is now outlawed and illegal in the state of New Jersey. Just today, many moms were with me with the incredible Gabby Giffords in Jersey City, and we celebrated $20 million of new federal money. This is money that we did not have before, which is coming in to New Jersey. 9 hospitals won a competition to provide in-hospital with community center care for both victims and perpetrators of gun violence. This is when you, amen, when you, by the way, when Council President Mildred Crump from Newark is in the house, she deserves an homage. "14 years, right, Mildred? 14, don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody. If you're in organized labor, you should care about misclassification because it was running rampant in this state. I've signed a whole suite of bills that are going to stamp misclassification out in the state of New Jersey. If you're a contractor committing 1099 fraud, we're going to give you 2 choices. Come into compliance or we're going to put you out of business. And I signed 176 bills in total. The list I just gave you, that was this month alone. That was all done in January of the year 2020. So we ain't letting any grass grow, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the train, and we're taking it as fast as we can take it. Now you ask yourself, in the midst of all this, why do we all live in this state? Why do we live in this extraordinary community of Maplewood, which is a quintessential New Jersey, not just Essex County, Mr. Chairman, one more time, but quintessential New Jersey community. I'll give you what's on my list. Best public education in America, including expanding access at the pre-K level, making sure that K through 12 is top couple, right now number one, and making college accessible, affordable, and relevant for the job opportunities that'll be out there. We have to hold on to that. Secondly, take advantage of our location. And I will say this as Mila previewed, we will fix NJ Transit if it kills me, and it might. I'm hoping it won't kill me, Mayor Frank, in this particular town hall at Woodland here, but we will fix it. It's a state that takes advantage of its location, not just in its rail or bus reality, but roads, bridges, rails, tunnels. We've been dealt the hand of the best located state in America. Prior administrations underplayed that hand. We want to maximize that hand. It isn't a Democrat or a Republican thing. This is what God gave you to work with. Own it. You got the largest market in the world across one river and one of the fastest growing markets in America across the other. We are the densest state in America. We've got to move people and things around our state and between our state and our neighboring states better than any other state in America. That's what we're committed to do, and you have my word, that's what we will do. Why else do you live here? Healthcare that's among the best, if not the best in America, but we got to make it more affordable and more accessible to more of us. The general quality of life. We're a proud, organized labor state. Get used to it. It's going to always be that way. But that's why a lot of people live here. The correlation between strength of organized labor and strength of the middle class in America post-World War II, that correlation is not 85 or 90 or 95%, it's 100%. As organized labor goes, so goes the middle class in New Jersey and in the United States of America. Why else do people live here? Our diversity. In so many respects, we are the most diverse American state. We wear that as a badge of honor. It is a source, if not our greatest source, of strength. I saw it coming out of the tragedy in Jersey City last month, where folks murdered 4 people, including a decorated police detective, a mom of 3, a young guy from Brooklyn, and an Ecuadorian immigrant. And the perpetrators professed hatred against law enforcement and the Jewish community in particular. God bless our members of law enforcement, by the way. Had the Jersey City Police Department and other police departments not been there that day so readily and so heroically, that would have been a whole lot worse. But on the religious side, what has been extraordinary in the face of that awful act, in the face of a spiking of anti-Semitism, to see religions across the entire spectrum come together and make the unambiguous statement that we rise, regardless of who we worship or how we worship. As a state, we rise and fall as one New Jersey family. So we've got it both ways. The Reverend Jesse Jackson, I think he said this in anger at the time, but he made the point that he was really angry about the melting pot. He hated that notion. This, by the way, I'm dating myself. This is maybe 50 years ago. Probably dating Reverend Jackson as well. He said, I hate that notion of a melting pot. And he put forward the notion of a vegetable stew that simmers on the stove. The longer it's on the stove, the longer it's together, the more harmonious it is. But the carrots always taste like carrots. The potatoes always taste like potatoes. The green beans are always the green beans. In other words, we have it both ways. And that's what New Jersey is. On our best days, we have it both ways. We're all one family, and yet we're proud of our own individual identities or communities. So that's a bunch of the reasons I think people live in this community, live in this county, live in this state. But I will tell you one other thing I know. They don't want to get ripped off for everything I just said. They want to pay a price that they think is fair. So I also want you to know one thing unambiguously. We're not happy with the state of the property tax reality that we inherited, and we will not stop until we fix it. And by the way, that's not an easy one overnight either. That's another one of these crises that was building for decades in this state. So it's 3 yards off tackle. It's shared services. We got a former Democratic and Republican mayor who are running up and down the state. I think they've got 1,000 shared service agreements right now under consideration. That's a big game changer. The mayors know this better than I. That's a big deal among communities, between communities, and on the one hand, between communities and the county. It's funding the state stepping up and funding things that it had stopped funding before, that takes the burden off the local property taxpayer. And the math is pretty simple. Take a look at your property tax bill. I'm not sure what it is in Maplewood, but on average in New Jersey, I know it's too high, 53% of your property tax bill in New Jersey on average is for public education. Now, by the way, that's part of the reason why we get the best public education system in the United States of America. But if the state underfunded in the last administration public education by $9 billion, and our commissioner is here and he's helping us dig out of this, Lamont, and then we step up and we put in back-to-back all-time record investments on the state side, that means the pressure can come off at the local property tax side. You can't get from here to there. You can't get to nirvana overnight. Growing the economy. We inherited a state that hadn't grown in 10 years. We're now finally growing again. The more we grow, the more latitude we have, the better we can get at the property tax crisis that we inherited. So I want to make sure you all know that. I know you know that, but I want to make sure you know that I know that. That people live in this state for a whole range of extraordinary reasons. And by the way, we play a hand every day that no other state in America can play, and we will not give our hand up. It's talent, it's location, and nobody can touch us. But we all deserve all of that at a fair price. And I want you to know I'm committed to cracking the back of that to make sure you will get a fair price if it kills us, and it might, in the great state of New Jersey. Now, doing a little trash pickup here as well. Frank, I want to make sure your DPU gives me some credit here for. One other quick thing before we wrap. In addition to making the math work, that this is an extraordinary state, but you want to make sure you're paying a fair price for that. So what I call that good value for money, right? So we're not going to be, my guess is we're never going to be Mississippi, but on our best day, we can be a good value for money state. Great public education. They fixed NJ Transit. By the way, I've just announced we're not raising fares in NJ Transit now for another year. So 3 years in a row, we will not raise NJ Transit fares. The last administration balanced the books on the back of commuters. We're not going to do that. We're going to take this on our own shoulders and figure it out. But it's not just good value for money. I want to be unambiguous about this as well. Our objective is to be the #1 state in the American class on values. Increasingly, families move places, businesses move places, not just because of the math, if you will, but because of what does that state stand for. So I want to be nothing less in the American class than #1 on the following: women's health care and a women's agenda, period. The strongest LGBTQ state in the United States of America. The strongest gun safety state in the United States of America. The strongest state as it relates to sensible, smart, public safety heavy immigration and immigrant reform and directives. Job #1 for me is the safety and security of the 9 million residents who call this great state their home. And this is a simple calculus on my part, in addition to being a good thing and a nice thing and a charitable thing and an empathetic thing. This is simple. When folks have confidence that they can come out of the shadows into the sunlight, engage with their neighbors, with their clergy, and God bless the clergy here tonight, with their elected officials, and most importantly, with law enforcement. When that happens, you have a safer community and a safer state, period. And lastly, no state has or will have, as long as we're around, an environmental record that will touch the record of the great state of New Jersey. Again, it is all the reasons why you come here and live here and making sure you pay a fair price, which we're cutting as aggressively as we can, but it's the values that surround all that. So I'll leave you before I take a few questions with the following. Our work is not done. We have a distance still to travel. I'll give you a couple items on my agenda. I still need, and we still need, tax fairness in this state. And we talk about some of these taxes all the time, but I'll give you a couple that we don't talk about as much as we should. We have a $100 million program fighting the opioid scourge and opioid epidemic. We asked last year, and I want to ask again this year, the opioid manufacturers and distributors need to pay a per-pill fee to help us defray the cost of breaking the back of that scourge. Another one, corporate responsibility fee. And this is a simple concept. There are a lot of large companies who don't provide health care for their employees. I'm not talking about a mom and pop 5 or 10 person shop. I'm talking about a 50 or more, or maybe even bigger companies where the employer says to the employee, not here for health care. They make the employee turn to Medicaid. And when they turn to Medicaid, the federal government and the state of New Jersey end up picking the whole tab. No more, folks. That ain't going to work. We want those companies to pay us a per-person charge to help us defray the health care costs. Unfinished business. We're not done with property taxes. We're not done in terms of bringing them down. And we're not done with middle-class tax cuts. We have got to make this state more affordable for the middle class, and we will. Not done yet. I had hoped we could legalize adult use marijuana legislatively. Apparently that's not going to work. We're going to do it by referendum, and God willing, that'll be done by the end of this year. God, I've lost my eyesight. So I mentioned this in our State of the State address. We're way overdue for ethics reform in this state, right? Way too many, we're on the outside banging on a bubble with a bunch of special interests, insiders on the inside of that bubble who are doing just fine, by the way, and we're on the outside screaming, what about us? Those days have got to come to an end. And we talk about that, right? And we talk about that largely as a state matter, as a Trenton matter, not the city of Trenton, but the notion of Trenton in terms of state government. We've got to get back at it. It's been at least a decade since we've had ethics reforms in this state. It's high time. Milo, we're way past time. We got to do that, and we got to make sure every branch of government steps up to the plate. No politics, no finger pointing. All branches. Let's look in the mirror. It's going to be hard to see sometimes. Particularly, you saw some of these articles about the treatment of women in government in Trenton. This is unacceptable at every level. Let's step up. Let's fix this once and for all. And lastly, what I've already said, expect more of 3 yards off tackle, of an all-in investment in the middle class, a middle class that was somewhere between ignored and ravaged in the last administration. We're making a historic reinvestment in the middle class. As our middle class goes, so goes the state of New Jersey. Let there be no doubt about that. Expect to see us doing more and stepping up to the plate more on education investment, on trying to make health care more affordable, on creating not just any jobs, but the right jobs with benefits, on making this a place where the middle class is secure and prospers. Last observation. Like every year, it's an election year. This one's a big one. This is not a political event. I'm the governor of all of New Jersey, not just some of it. 2020 is a big year. It's a big year, frankly, in municipalities. It's a big year in Essex County, as Leroy reminded me the other night. All of the freeholder board is up in Essex County. That's the way it works in Essex County. You guys are up. Danny and Vic are up. Sure, I should have started with you guys. Apologies. Okay, this is not a campaign rally for you guys, even though I love you to pieces. Our entire House of Representatives is up for election. A U.S. Senate seat is up for election. And as you may have noticed, the President of the United States is up for election. So all I'd say is this. I know which side I'm on, but that's not the reason I raise it. No matter which side you're on, you can't sit this out. We can't sit this out, Frank. We all got to step up. We got to get out. We got to vote. We have done a lot over the past 2 years to open up democracy, and I'm proud of that, including, as was mentioned, persons on probation or parole now have the right, thank God, once again, to exercise their right to vote. We're aggressively pursuing other ways to open up democracy. We must open it up for as many of us to participate as possible. But I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you, don't sit this out. God bless you all. Thank you all. I love Maplewood. We'll take a few questions. Same group on the questions? Same people with the phones? Okay, here we go. We're doing rapid fire here. I think what I'm going to do, Deb, unless you're going to be mad at me. So the microphones are, we got Kia. Where'd Kia go? Right there, straight ahead. Kia, where are you? It's right in front of me. Kia, Marilyn, Brandon, are you here? Brandon, come in. Everyone come in a little bit. And Deb, right? Okay, here we go. I'm going to read your name and the question. Can you just stand up so everyone can give you a big round of applause? But in the interest of time, I'm going to read the question and then give you a quick answer. Does that work? Everybody okay? If we don't get to your question, we are committed to following up with you, right? Where do you do that? So you go outside, file a form. Martell, is that good? Did I get that right? And then we'll make sure we pride ourselves in getting back to you. I'm swearing you in tomorrow. You realize that? Congratulations, man. All right, well done. Okay, Ryan Greff. Where's Ryan Greff? Hey, Ryan. How are you, man? You're coming in from Fairlawn, all the way from Bergen County. Do you believe it is important for young people to volunteer to serve on governors, boards, and commissions? Let's hear it for Ryan. I love the question. Hi, Nancy. Okay, the answer, do I believe? I believe. 100%. In fact, I would be, if I were to look in the mirror right now cold-bloodedly, I'd be critical that there's a gap between my words and actions on that front. So maybe Deb can help me figure out opportunities. There are some clear ones where a particular commission will say this is a youth seat, and there are other designations like that, but we don't have enough, to be frank with you. If you were to look at I don't want to violate any codes of conduct here, but can I ask you how old you are? 21. So let's hear it for Ryan. He's 21, man. Ryan, you want to go out for a pop after the show here? So we have, as you probably can see with Kia, with Marilyn, with Brandon, with Martell, with many of us, we run a pretty youth-oriented governor's office. But it's not, I don't think we have our tentacles enough into the next generation. I will tell you one last thing. Deb, I forgot Deb. Oh, jeez. This is a no-win situation I'm in now. So our government Twitter account, which has gotten a lot of, yeah. Your mom has gotten, making sure you're paying attention. Part of the reason why we're edgy, Megan Coyne and Pearl Gable, part of the reason why they're doing this, are they here? They're not here, right? Part of the reason we're doing this is to show Jersey attitude, show fun, edge of the seat, all that. But more importantly, it's to then bring people in. And the people who are being brought in are more often than not younger. So Ryan, love you, buddy. Thank you. Okay, Lucinda Sadrian. I get that right, Lucinda? Where are you? Lucinda, how are you?
Fine.
No, I'm good, but is it a coincidence you're beside Ryan?
Maybe, yes.
Do you all come together or not?
No.
You're from Watchung, okay.
Yes.
As the CEO of New Jersey, what are your strategic goals to reduce gun violence? How do you quantify success? And what are the milestones and timeline for achieving success? Wow, okay, thank you. That's a big one. So, again, in the interest of the clock, we've done a lot. Where'd you go, Lucinda? You can, it's okay, you can stay there. We've done a lot. We just did something today, which is a data-driven notion that if hospitals have the funding and the programs to deal with both victims and perpetrators when they're in their midst, and they've got a back-end relationship with a community center, that has a huge impact on recidivism. Both victim recidivism, ironically, and perpetrator recidivism. And the moms were with me today. Big deal. So that's why Gabby Giffords was here today. That's one step. We've signed a ton of laws, a bunch of executive actions, executive orders, naming and shaming states that export guns into New Jersey. The sad truth, on the one hand, we have the strongest gun laws in America. On the other hand, 80% of the guns committed in gun crimes in New Jersey come in illegally from out of state. That's why we formed States for Gun Safety, which is a collection of states in the absence of federal action. It's a collection of states that works together. Governor Cuomo and I founded it. It's now 8 or 10 states. We share research, intelligence, information. We have a gun summit coming up in March in New Jersey with some of the governors from that. All of that's great. It pales in comparison of what we actually need, which is federal legislation, federal steps. That's a quick sense of what we're up to. There's more in the pipeline we need to do. There's an ammunition bill that is in the legislature, which I think the Assembly is good with. We got to get it out of the Senate. There are a number of other steps, but again, we will not be in the promised land until we've got federal legislation. Thank you for that. Johanna Ginsburg, is that right? Johanna? Hello. Johanna asks, what are you doing? Let's hear for Johanna. What are you doing? What are you doing about NJ Transit? Okay. Johanna, I would push your breakfast back. Real quick, there were 4 fundamental issues that we've been dealing with, and then there's a big federal piece. I'll give you an example. There were 30 minutes, if not more, delays tonight. Some of you may have suffered that coming out of Penn Station because one of the 2 tracks, by the way, built in 1910, one of the tracks Amtrak was doing some unscheduled maintenance on. Apparently a track broke. Well, that's great, and we've got a very good relationship with Amtrak, but so there are a number of things that are within our control that the last administration wrecked that we are addressing aggressively, and I feel good about the progress. But we also have a 5th piece, which is a federal piece. I will be speaking to the president as I do every year at this point in early February, and we will be talking about nothing but the Gateway project. So what are we doing? We have the right management. We've had back-to-back record funding of NJ Transit, and the commuters back. We've kept fares flat. We were way behind on hiring engineers. A big reason why we have bad Fridays and Mondays or Tuesdays if there's a holiday weekend. Human nature in the warm months in particular, when folks' kids are out of school, engineers are saying, I'm going to take a long weekend. And the last administration hired very few engineers. We had no degrees of freedom. I just went to my 4th out of 6 graduation classes of engineers. We were way behind on federal safety standards. We've now caught way up on that. We've now got an app, which is not perfect, but it's a much better way to determine whether or not your train or bus is later on time. We've got a dashboard that each month you're going to be able to look and see whether or not it's Murphy spouting words or whether or not this is actually true. We're about to make big investments on rolling stock and buses and other equipment. So the stuff we can control, I feel we're making slow but steady progress, and there's no doubt the data shows that. But if it's your train that's late or doesn't show up, you don't care about my data, and I don't blame you. I frankly, at that point, don't care about it either. I'm not going to sit until we bat 1,000%. The big X factor, which is why the president matters here and why I will speak to him about this, is we need more tunnels under the Hudson River. It's that simple. And no matter how good we get, we're only going to be so good. So I pray that he will see the light. The Port Authority is building a new bus terminal on the west side of Manhattan, and that's a good thing for the bus side of the house, but we will get there. Sue McBride. Sue, I know you. Where you been all my life? God bless you. In from Patterson. Okay. And Sue, by the way, is the president of the Bergen County Education Association, so bless you. I got to go faster here. Okay. I love questions that begin with the following. First, thank you. But that does usually mean that I'm about to get a 98-mile-an-hour fastball under my chin. Thank you for the pocket veto of the commission bill. Yes, which I don't think we don't need that. We bless you. We have a great, Hetty, that was you. Are you okay? Hetty Rosenstein's in the house. Come on. Jerome Johnson's in the house. There's Cher, there's Elvis, and there's also Fran, who's in the house. So this was we didn't need that, right? We didn't need but second, what is your prognosis for Chapter 78 reform? My members are anxious, but we are immensely grateful for your support. Well, thank you, Sue. And you deserve to be anxious because now, coming on 10 years ago at this point, it's hard to believe educators in particular, but a lot of public sector employees are taking home less money today than they did 9 or 10 years ago. And I've said before, I don't think even the architects of that bill, which we've opposed forever and always, ever thought that would be true. So it's outrageous, completely outrageous. We are full throttle supportive of Chapter 78 reform in the positive sense. This is unacceptable. We, and I'm speaking to you as an educator, we are the #1 education system in America. Our kids are our most precious assets. We give them to educators every day in the morning. They spend more time with them than parents do in many cases. We got to put educators back up on the pedestal, and part of the way you do that is A, you stop yelling at them, which we have. You've noticed we don't yell anymore. Notice I've not said to Sue, shut up and sit down, and never will. I want to say, scream out and stand up, Sue. But we got to make sure it's an attractive occupation, that it pays well, that it's stable, that folks feel like they can make a living out of this, that they can have a solid, prosperous life with their spouse and bring their kids up, and that's what we're committed to. So thank you, bless you. Okay. Barbara Velasquez from right here in Maplewood. Barbara, come on. The possibility of passing the millionaire's tax to make the path to progress unnecessary. Barbara, we will pass a millionaire's tax and it won't kill me. This is crazy. I'm glad you brought this up. I meant to bring this up myself. This is insane, okay? So, why? A couple of reasons. Over 70-something% of New Jerseyans, including a majority of Republicans, want to see us pass a millionaire's tax. Come on. It shouldn't be that hard. Secondly, it was voted on successfully, Mila, how many times in the legislature? How many? Like 5 or 6 times, right? In the Christie administration. Hello, I'm governor. Why can't we do that again this time? Thirdly, I'm not a class warfare guy. I got nothing against success or the American dream. I've got nothing personally against millionaires. In fact, I want more of them in New Jersey, okay? This is a question about equity, leveling the playing field. If we're going to make an all-time historic investment in the middle class, which is what we're doing, because as the middle class goes, the whole show goes, including for the wealthiest among us, I can't justify making the middle class also pay the price for that all-time investment, particularly when they were ravaged in the last administration. Last comment, very simply, we should ask ourselves, what's the use of proceeds, as they say in the business world? What are you going to do with that money? I'll tell you what we're going to do with that money. We're going to help fund public education. We're going to make direct middle-class property tax relief, middle-class tax cuts and property tax relief directly in the middle class. So if it's education and middle-class tax cuts, whether it's property or other tax cuts, and that's the use of proceeds, and that allows our middle class to strengthen, what is the argument against it? We will get this done. With your help. And I mean that last part. This is proven to be harder than I ever thought it would be or should be or could be. So we're going to all need to band together to get that done, and it's the right thing to do. Couple more. Rennell C. Martin. Doesn't say where you're from, Rennell. You here? You Rennell? How are you? I was going to say it's possible because this is going on so long you could have watched the entirety of The Irishman while I was doing this, that you may have left. Your question, Rennell, I see over there. Thank you for this. Where are you from? All right, I love that. Okay. Why is the cost of health care in this state so expensive overall, and especially for seniors? I'm a senior who worked for well over 30 plus years. When I worked, I had insurance. In 2018, I received can I say this? Is that okay? A cancer diagnosis. God bless you. You look great, by the way. So whatever you're doing, right? We'll keep you in our prayers. The job or employer terminated my insurance 3 months into my chemo. Come on. And then terminated my salary. Who is this jerk? That we need. Seriously, Deb, help me out here. We got to figure out who this is. This is Jersey, after all. We can figure these things out. We're full on Jersey, Rennell. Since I have increased my insurance, one of the medications I was on cost $900. I got to come over and say hello to you, first of all. I got to give you a hug. Rennell, let's hear it for Rennell Martin. God bless you. You look great. You feel better? God bless you. So, Rennell, other than what we're going to do about the specifics of, I'm not going to step in your hand there. Other than the specifics of the company that you work for, which I do want to follow up and figure that out, I kind of mentioned, I probably previewed the answer to your question because I talked about establishing this office to figure out exactly what we're paying and what we're getting for that, and track down then pieces of the food chain of what it costs to get good health care. And approaches to crime. I'm going to summarize your question, which is really good, but I think it's about criminal justice reform. Is that right? And here we go. So what further reform does the Murphy administration plan to unveil in policy and legislation to bring productive, lasting solutions and politicization of criminal justice and empathy to public governance? It's a great question. Let's hear it from Melissa. We've done a lot. I won't go through the laundry list of what we've done, but we've done a lot. And that includes voting rights, solitary confinement, a lot of stuff for folks reentering from the system, a whole laundry list of things there. What we haven't yet done, and Mila's going to be one of the persons that helps us get it done, we set up a commission literally within days. Leroy, you were there. We were in East Orange, I recall. A criminal sentencing and disposition commission within days of coming into office, co-headed by former Supreme Court Justice in New Jersey, Debbie Poritz, and a guy named Giles Shipp, who's the former president of the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Officers. They came back with an extraordinary report with a number of recommendations, but the big one is elimination of mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent drug crimes and a whole bunch of other, some juvenile justice reforms. And so the commission was great. Legislative leadership, to their credit, stood with me. We all endorsed this, but it needs legislation. So we got to get that done. Mila will be one of the leaders there, but if you said, what can I do? That's one big step we could take, because it'll be a bunch of bills. It will be, I don't know how many, but somewhere 5 to 9 bills that will have a sweeping impact on our criminal justice system and make it a lot more fair. Thank you. Judy Rosenthal, Milburn. Where are you, Judy? Hello, Judy. Nice to see you. I appreciate the incentives for electric vehicles. When can we expect to see supercharging stations at rest stops on the Garden State Parkway?
So we can all get to the shore.
What was that?
So we can get to the shore.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was you. Okay. We need infrastructure to support electric vehicles. The answer, Judy, is soon, but we have a huge gap right now between both the amount of electric vehicles we have on the road and what the projection is. I think the bills I just signed envision another 330,000 electric vehicles. We're a top, we're number 11 in population, number 9 in the economy in terms of our size as an American state. So we're typically top something, and we are in electric vehicles. I think we're top 6 or 7. That's the good news. Our infrastructure, I think, is 49. Literally 49. But the bills I signed are going to accelerate that. I can't give you a specific date, but we're finally going to close the gap. Sooner than later, we got to get you to the shore. That's my job number 1. Justin Escher Alpert, what happened? Where are you, Justin? Hey, man, what happened to the state bank? The good news is about 2 or 3 months ago, this one took a lot longer than I wanted. I love the idea. We finally put a commission together. It's with the right people studying it. They've got 1 year to come up with the blueprint to actually get this done. If you don't know what this idea is, instead of when New Jersey collects your taxes, or even Maplewood, Frank, and you put them in big money center banks in New York, I'm great if you put them in community banks in New Jersey. That's a good thing. We want them to be alive and well. But if the money is going, which more often than not, your tax dollars go to some big bank in New York, they sit there until we have to pay them. That bank uses your deposit to fund investments. Unfortunately, almost none of it is in New Jersey. So the notion is a bank that the people would own in New Jersey, that the money would go in there and would fund infrastructure in New Jersey. Luis, how are you? Marijuana legalization from Renaud Pierre-Louis. I think it's Pierre-Louis. I think it's going to be, where are you? I think it's going to be by referendum, God willing, in November. Later than I would want, but better late than never. The problem I have, I got to supporting this, you've heard me say this, is social justice. 600 people plus or minus this week will be arrested on low-end drug crimes, and 450 to 500 of them will be of color. And that's a reality until we get this legalized. So I'm hoping and praying we get it passed in November. Joanna Lopez, Kane University. How important do you feel the arts and colleges are to students and the community? Kane University is dissolving the art department from the students and faculty. They cannot get rid of our faculty. Hashtag Save Art History in Kane University. Please support. Let's hear it from Mona Lisa. I spoke to your president. It's completely outrageous. We literally have a meeting tomorrow, which Deb is going to make sure happens. We've got your back, all right? Deb's giving me the hairy eyeball. These are all great questions. I think I got to call. I think I got to bring the curtain down because we're going to be, if I didn't get a Kane question out, you all never would have spoken to me again. So I had to make sure I got that. I just want to say to the mayor, to the chairman, to all the elected officials, come on up. Yeah, amen, amen. I'm with you. I'm with you. On that note, Maplewood, thank you. Essex County, Chairman, Mayor, everybody, God bless you all, brothers and sisters in labor, veterans, first responders, educators, organized labor, everybody all, thank you all.
Governor, we thank you, but we want to give you a gift. On behalf of the Township of Maplewood, we want to present you with your very own Mapstone sweatshirt. Thank you for coming, Governor. We appreciate your time.